Good morning, everyone. Myself K. Kiran Kumar, working as a lecturer in Electronics and Communication Engineering section. Presently working at Jawaharlal Nehru Government Polytechnic, Hyderabad. Today I am going to explain a topic that is on sampling and few more topics. This topic is in subject digital communications, 4th semester C18 curriculum. Up to now we discussed up to previous class we discussed about differences between analog and digital communications. Then we have seen advantages and disadvantages. Then we have seen channel capacity of a channel or a medium, which is given by Hartley and Shannon's limit laws theorem, and the factors affecting the channel capacity. Now we are moving on to the very important topic in the digital communication, that is called as sampling. So first we will see what is the necessity of going for sampling. As we discussed in the digital communications, all the processing will be done in the form of digital only, means which will only having two levels, that is high level as well as low level. Whenever we want to do the communication of analog signals by means of digital communications, we have to convert analog signal into digital form or digital signal. Therefore, to transmit the analog signal by means of digital, the signal has to be sampled, means that analog signal will be converted into samples or into discontinuous signals. Therefore, to transmit the analog signal by digital means the signal will be sampled at regular intervals, means over a period of time. At each particular specified intervals of time, we will take the sample of the input analog signal. Instead of taking the total amplitudes of the analog signal, only we are considering the amplitudes at a certain points of time. That points are called as samples, and this process is called as sampling. Therefore, information regarding the signal is transmitted at the sampling time along with the synchronizing signals. Means instead of transmitting the total analog signal, we are taking the amplitudes of the analog signal at a specified period of time intervals along with the synchronized signals, because these synchronized signals are very important in the digital communication. Here the amplitude of each sample is expressed as binary number for transmission. At the receiver, these samples can be reconstructed to form the analog signal. Means at the transmitter, will transmitting these samples which are expressed in a binary number, that is either high level or low level. At the receiver side, after collecting the samples, so with help of this one we are reconstructing the original analog signal. Now that is about the sampling necessity. Now we are seeing the sampling theorem, right? So this is very important statement. The sampling theorem states that if sampling rate, that is Fs, that is sampling frequency or sampling rate, that is if sampling rate exceeds twice the maximum signal frequency, that is Fm, then original signal can be reconstructed in the receiver with a minimum distortion. Means if the sampling rate means the number of samples taken per second that is called as sampling rate or sampling frequency, that is called as fs. This should be exceeds the twice of the maximum signal frequency. Whenever this condition is satisfied, then we can reconstruct the original signal with help of samples with minimum distortion. For example, if signal frequency, that is for analog signal, is 1 kilohertz, therefore the sampling rate should be more than or equal to 2 times of 1 kilohertz, that is 2 kilohertz. When your sampling rate is greater than or equal to 2 kilohertz, then at the receiver we can reconstruct the original 1 kilohertz signal with minimum distortion. So this this will be explained by the sampling theorem. So once again, if sampling rate exceeds the twice the maximum signal frequency, then original signal at the receiver will be reconstructed with a minimum distortion. So one more example, if message signal frequency is 5 kilohertz, therefore according to the sampling theorem, sampling rate will be equal to 10 kilobits per second, or sampling frequency equal to 10 kilohertz. And this is very important while you are taking the samples from the continuous signal or analog signal. This is the first step to convert analog signal into digital signal. And here the minimum rate of sampling is known as Nyquist rate. Therefore, in this example I told it should be exceeds the twice of the maximum signal frequency. That minimum value is called as Nyquist rate. Therefore, the just now what is the example we told, the Nyquist rate will be equal to 10 kilobits per second, that is whenever message signal frequency is 5 kilohertz. Right, now see this one. So this particular figure will show you the how the samples are taken. Here here the continuous signal, that is in the analog form, will be the input signal. Here that green color will show you the samples at a particular intervals, means where you have to take the samples. So here we are taken samples at regular intervals up to from 0 to 10. We have taken 10 samples, each one at 1 second, that is see, look at the figure, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, like that up to 10 seconds we have taken. Wherever this sample is touches the input signal, at that point only we are considering the samples. So that is represented with red color. Look at that one. At the first sample, at the first second, once the first second we are taking the sample that is having the positive amplitude, and similarly at the second we have taken the sample which is the negative value, and similarly at the third also it is the negative value, at fourth one it is positive, like this up to 10 we have to take the samples. So this is called as sample here. Therefore here we have taken 10 samples from the input signal. So this is about the sampling theorem, very important topic in the digital communication. Right, here same figure, it is explained in theoretical form how the analog signal will be converted into discontinuous form or discrete form. Look at the first figure. The first diagram will tell it is a analog signal or input signal to the sampler. Then second figure will show you the samples, that is a sample input which will give the samples, means at that particular samples we are taking the amplitude. Therefore You look at the output that is represented with x of n, that is called as discrete signal. Therefore, the continuous signal becomes discrete signal as you are looking in the third waveform. Just compare the first figure and third figure. First figure is a continuous one, third figure is a discontinuous. Means wherever the dark points are there, that point will indicate the samples of the input signal. Therefore, this sampling converts continuous signal into discrete signal. So now we will see some more points about the sampling theorem. As we told, whenever sampling frequency will be equal to 2 times of message signal frequency, then that is called as Nyquist rate. If sampling frequency is less than 2 times of FM, that is, if sampling frequency is less than the twice the maximum signal frequency, then distortion will occur. And this distortion is called as fold over distortion or aliasing effect. That effect is called as aliasing effect. Therefore, the sampling rate should be, that is, Fs must be greater than or equal to 2 times of maximum input signal frequency. Whenever this condition is satisfied, distortion will be minimum. As we told, Fs will be the minimum sampling rate. Fa is called as highest frequency to be sampled, is highest frequency of the input signal. Now look at this figure. The black color will indicate the original signal, and another color, dark pink color, will show you the aliased signal. Means the original signal is totally different with the aliased signal. So this particular will figure show you the how the distortion will occur, or we can say undersampling or aliasing effect. So this is about the sampling theorem. Just we will summarize. So now, right, based on this one, try to answer these questions. So the first question, Hartley's law states that maximum rate, that is option A, depends upon the channel bandwidth, B, depends upon the depth of modulation, C, redundancy is essential, D, only binary codes may be used. So from the Hartley law, in the channel capacity, while we discuss, the maximum information will be depends upon which factor. Just look at the options. So correct answer will be option A, that is, it depends upon channel bandwidth of the channel, that is I equal to K into T into B, where K is constant and T will be the available time and capital B will be the bandwidth. Therefore, correct answer will be option A. Next question, the continuous analog signal is sampled at regular intervals, irregular intervals. So that is regular intervals. As we told, from the sampling theorem, we have to take the samples of the input signal at regular intervals of time, not irregular intervals of time. So option will be A. Right, third question. To construct the original signal in the receiver, the sampling rate should be option A, Fs must be greater than or equal to 2 times of Fa. Fa should be greater than or equal to 2 times of Fs. Option C, Fs should be less than 2 times of Fa. Option D, Fa should be less than 2 times of Fs. So correct answer will be A. That is, sampling rate should be greater than or equal to 2 times of maximum message signal frequency. Fourth question. The distortion due to undersampling rate is known as A, crossover, B, foldover, C, aliasing, option D, either B or C. Just now we told it is called as aliasing effect or foldover distortion. Therefore, D will be the correct answer. Now look at the next question. If large information is to be sent within short period of time, the channel is preferred as telephone line, telegraph line, microwave link, optical fiber link. So answer will be optical fiber link. So this is about the small questions. Now just some important questions from this topic. First question, define information capacity. Second question, give the expression for channel capacity. And then one more, third question, what is mean by sampling theorem, necessity of a sampling theorem, and a sampling theorem formula, and some based on that a small problems. Now we will look at next topic, that is modulation techniques in digital communications. Now objectives of this is, upon completion of this period, you will able to know different pulse modulation schemes. That is first one, pulse amplitude modulation. Next one, pulse width modulation, that is PWM. Next one, PPM, that is pulse position modulation. So these are called as pulse modulation techniques in digital communication. We will see one by one total details, what is meant by pulse modulation, all those things we will see. So just we will quickly recap what we told. So just now we discussed about analog communication, digital communication, information capacity, and then finally we have seen sampling theorem. Now, so before going to start the pulse modulation, as you know, so modulation is the technique where low frequency signal will be converted into high frequency signal. Means the low frequency message signal will be converted into high frequency signal with help of high frequency carrier signal. So that is the definition for modulation. In the case of digital communication, here the message signal may be analog form or digital form. Whenever input signal is analog form, we have to convert analog into digital form. Whenever input is digital signal or binary signal, directly we can do the digital processing or digital communication. Now in this one, in the digital communication also, there are two types of modulation techniques. Here carrier may be analog or digital form. Means here carrier may be in the digital form or analog form. Digital form means which is like a binary waveform, and analog form means it is like a continuous signal. So based on that one, we are discussing different modulation techniques. Now we will see the first category of that one, that is called as pulse modulation technique. As it is told, to transmit the analog signals with help of digital, it is necessary to sample the signal at regular intervals of time. The amplitude of the each sample can be expressed as a binary number, and these samples will be, with help of these samples at the receiver, the original signal can be reconstructed to get back the original one. Right. Now in the case of pulse modulation, look at the definition. In this case, a periodic pulse is used as a carrier waveform, and characteristics of each pulse such as amplitude, duration and position is varied in a continuous manner according to the instantaneous sample value of the message signal. Means according to the instantaneous amplitude of the message signal, the amplitude of the amplitude or width or position of the pulse carrier changes. That is called as pulse modulation. Means, so with this definition we can say input is a digital form, that is whenever analog is there, which will be converted into samples or digital form, and carrier will be a pulses. Therefore, according to the samples, input samples, the amplitude or width or position of the pulse carrier changes. That is called as pulse modulation. Now based on this one, there are different types of pulse modulation techniques. Here pulse modulation will be two types, that is analog or digital. So whenever it is analog type, that is PAM, second one PWM, and third one PPM. That is pulse analog amplitude modulation, pulse width modulation, pulse position modulation. And second category of pulse modulations are digital type, that is PCM, pulse code modulation. Next one, delta modulation. So these are the subcategories of pulse modulation techniques. Now first we will see pulse analog modulation techniques, that is PAM, PWM, PPM. Pulse amplitude modulation, pulse width modulation, pulse position modulation. The next category of pulse digital modulation techniques we will see in the next session. Now if you look at the types of pulse analog modulations, the first one will be pulse amplitude modulation, that is called as PAM, and second one pulse width modulation, and also called as pulse duration modulation, represented with PDM or PWM. So duration or width of a pulse will be same, that's why pulse width modulation or pulse duration modulation. And the next one will be pulse position modulation, and also called as pulse time modulation. So this is the third category of pulse analog modulation. Right. Now first we will see the basic principle involved in the pulse modulation techniques. The basic step will be the sampling process. Means whenever input is an analog signal, we have to take the samples from the input signal. Therefore, in this particular process, analog signal will be converted into sequence of samples that are uniformly spaced at a time. Means if you take at regular intervals of time, the samples will be uniformly spaced. So as we told sampling theorem, here the first step, the sampling rate should be exceeds the twice the maximum signal frequency to get the minimum distortion at the receiver while reconstructing the original signal. So that is compulsory. That compulsory while you are going for pulse modulation technique. First we will look at pulse amplitude modulation. So as we told, in any modulation, pulse modulation, the signal has to be sampled at regular intervals. Now we will see the definition of pulse amplitude modulation. The amplitude of the each sample is proportional to the instantaneous amplitude of the message signal at the time of sampling. That is amplitude of the each pulse or sample is proportional to the amplitude of the message signal at the time of sampling. We will see that waveform. The first figure is called as analog signal or input signal, and second one will be the PAM signal. Means at regular intervals of time we will take the sample. At each sample, the sample amplitude is depends upon the amplitude of the input signal at that particular point of time. Now just look at the diagram. Here we are taking 6 samples. Here the sample's amplitude will be is according to the amplitude of the input signal. So therefore this is called as pulse amplitude signal. Means only amplitude of the modulated signal is changes, remaining factors will be constant. Means if you look at the samples width of the samples will be same and position also not changed, only amplitude of the samples or pulses is changed. So this is about the pulse amplitude modulation. Now just we look at the block diagram of PAM generation or PAM modulation. First here message signal is given to a switch. For this switch we are giving another input called as carrier signal or carrier pulses or carrier samples, and the switch output will be given to pulse shaping network, and the output of the pulse shaping network is called as PAM with flat tops. We will see that one. Here the switch is also called as product modulator, where input signal is multiplied with the samples or pulses, and it is also AND gate. Maybe you know the operation of the AND gate. Here the message signal to be converted is fed to the one of the input of the switch. Pulses at sampling frequency are applied to the other input of the switch. Means whenever input, as we told according to the sampling theorem, if input frequency is 1 kHz, the sampling frequency to be applied is 2 kilobits per second, that is 2 kbps. We have to take care of this one. Then the output of the product modulator consists of pulses at sampling rate equal in magnitude to the signal voltage at that instant. Means at a particular sample that will be amplitude multiplied by the amplitude of the message signal. Therefore the pulse's amplitude will be equal to the amplitude of the message signal at that instant of time. And these pulses are passed through a pulse shaping network which will give flat taps. Finally, a PM signal will be obtained, that is pulse amplitude modulation signal will get that one. So that is about the pulse amplitude modulation. Now we will look at the block diagram of demodulator. That is a reverse process of the modulation is called as demodulator, that will be done at the receiver. Now look at this one. Here PM signal will be given to demodulator, then FM demodulator, then it will be given to diode detector or diode demodulator. Finally it will be given to low pass filter. So finally we will get original message signal. Now we will do the process, we will see the process of demodulation. First PM signal will be demodulated by giving to a standard FM demodulator. Then it is given to a ordinary diode detector followed by a low pass filter. And here the cutoff frequency of the low pass filter will be high, so that highest message signal will be passed and original signal can be reconstructed. Means the low pass filter cutoff frequency will be equal to message signal frequency. Then it will allow the frequencies up to the message signal maximum frequency, and remaining frequencies will be attenuated. For example, if message signal frequency is 2 kHz, therefore cutoff frequency of the low pass filter will be also equal to 2 kHz. Therefore, it will allow the frequencies up to 2 kHz, then above the 2 kHz frequencies will be attenuated. So that is a function of low pass filter. So this is about the first type of pulse modulation, that is pulse amplitude modulation, where amplitude of the each pulse will be changed according to the input message signal amplitude. Now we look at the next one, that is called as pulse width modulation. And as we told, it is also called as pulse duration modulation and also called as pulse length modulation. Now we look at the definition. In this pulse width modulation, the width of the each carrier pulse is proportional to the amplitude of the message signal at that instant. Means the width of the sample or width of the carrier pulses will be changes according to the instantaneous amplitude of the message signal where we are taking the samples. And this PWM signal will be generated by applying trigger pulses to the control the starting time pulses of from a monostable multivibrator. As you know, so monostable multivibrator is a circuit which will generate pulses whenever we are giving the external input. Therefore, this pulse width modulation will be generated with help of a monostable multivibrator. That is, we will see the process. The signal which is to be sampled, that is the message signal or input signal, and pulse duration will be controlled or fed to the multivibrator. Then, so that is a simple process of pulse width modulation. Then this PWM can be demodulated by applying to a integrated circuit or low pass filter. Therefore the reverse process will do. So according to the pulse width at that particular time instant, we are taking the amplitude of the signal which is proportional to the pulse width. So the disadvantage in this process is the pulses are having different widths because the width of the pulses will changes, therefore power content will varies. So one of the biggest advantages, even synchronization failures, it will work perfectly. So just look at the pulse width modulation waveforms. So the left side will be the input signal called as analog signal, right side will be the pulse width modulated waveform. If you look at the second waveform here, if you observe, wherever we are taking the samples, at that samples times width will be varying. Width is not constant, look at once, but amplitude will be same throughout the time, but widths are changing, and these widths are is proportional to the amplitude of the message signal at that instant of time. So that is about the pulse width modulation, means where width of the pulses changes according to the amplitude of the message signal or input signal. Now the last category of pulse modulation is pulse position modulation. So in this PPM, the position of the each pulse is varied according to the instantaneous amplitude of the message signal. And this PPM signal, that is pulse position modulated signal, will be obtained from the pulse width modulator. So in this one, the first step is, first we will generate pulse width modulated signal with help of a multivibrator. Then that signal will be differentiated, or which will be given to a high pass filter. And this differentiated waveform has positive and negative going pulses. As you know, whenever pulses are given to the differentiator based on the time constant, that is product of either product of resistance and capacitor values present in the circuit, it will generate spikes, or it will generate sharp pulses which are positive as well as negative going pulses. Now just we will look at that process. So just this is the block diagram of PPM generation. First message signal will be given to PWM generator, where we are getting pulse width modulated signal. This will be given to a differentiator. Then finally it will be given to diode clipper. So clipper is a circuit, so which will remove the some portion of the input signal. So that is called a clipper. In this one we will use the diode as the main element, that's why it is called as diode clipper. Finally we are getting pulse position modulated signal. So here see once, if position corresponding to the trailing edge of the unmodulated pulse is counted as zero displacement, the other trailing edge will arrive earlier or later. As you know, trailing edge means, are also called as falling edge, rising edge, that is two things for a pulse. So an unmodulated PWM pulse is obtained when the signal value will be 0, and this time displacement will be proportional to the instantaneous value of the signal voltage, and the differentiated pulses corresponding to the leading edges are removed with a clipper. Therefore, the output is in the form of pulse position modulated waveform. So, that is a simple process of PPM. Now, we will see the demodulation of PPM. Just look at the diagram of demodulation. Here PPM signal will be given to flip-flop and also called as bistable multivibrator. It is a circuit which has two stable states, or which will generate square waveform by applying the external triggering pulses. Then it is be given to integrated. So finally we are obtaining the original message signal. So here the first pulse position modulated signal will be converted into pulse width modulated signal. So this will be done by using a flip-flop or bistable multivibrator. So as we told, one input of the multivibrator will receive the trigger pulses from a local generator, so which is synchronized by the pulses from the transmitter, and these pulses are used to switch off one stages of the flip-flops. Then these PPM pulses are fed to the other base of the flip-flop, the resulting pulses having width that depends upon the time displacement of each individual PPM pulses. This resulting PWM signal is demodulated by using a low pass filter or integrated circuit. So this is the process of demodulation. The advantage of this demodulation technique is PPM is it requires constant transmitter power output. Disadvantage is it depends upon transmitter and receiver synchronization. Synchronization must be done between transmitter and receiver in case of pulse position modulation. Just this is about the three types of pulse analog modulation techniques. Just we'll compare all these things, all these modulation techniques with help of waveforms. Now look at the waveforms. So this is the PAM, that is the first red that is orange color will be the message signal, and second will be the pulse amplitude modulated signal, where amplitude of the pulses is same as the amplitude of the message signal. Now look at the second figure. Here same one, message signal will be the first one, below will be the second one. Just guess that one. If you look at the second waveform, the width of the pulses, look at the second one, the widths are changes according to the amplitude of the message signal. That is, if amplitude of the message signal is less, the width of the pulse is also less. If amplitude of the message signal is more, just wait, look at this point. So at these points, this is these points, similarly at these points. So according at this point here, look at this point here, pulse width will be more because amplitude of the message signal is more. So therefore this will be the PWM waveform. Width of the pulses will be changing, but amplitude will be same. But finally, pulse position modulation. So see, look at the pulse position. If you look at the second waveform, the pulses position will be not same throughout the scale. This position with respect to the reference points as indicated, it is changing, it is not same. So therefore that is called as pulse position modulation. So this is about the three modulation techniques. So with this we'll stop the class. We'll summarize whatever we discussed. So the summary is, in this period we discussed about various modulation schemes such as pulse amplitude modulation, pulse width modulation, then pulse position modulation we have seen. So based on this one, try to answer these questions. PM can be generated by using, so answer will be AND gate. So which of the following is used to generate PPM to PPM from PWM? So answer will be, so that is differentiator. So to demodulate PAM, the following circuit will be used. So that is low pass filter. The modulation scheme in which position of the each pulse varied according to the instantaneous amplitude of the message signal. Just try to get a relevant option. So answer will be position of the each pulse changes, therefore answer will be C, that is PPM. So these are the questions. Now just some important questions from this topic is, so the first question, explain the common types of analog modulation scheme. So second question will be, define pulse amplitude modulation and its generation or its modulation. Next question, define PWM and its generation. So next will be, define pulse position modulation and generation of pulse position modulation. So these are the some of the questions. So with this one, just we'll complete the, we'll stop the class. We'll meet in the next session. Thank you very much.